I went back out to Forest Lake because, as you can see in the video here from the drone, the lake is completely refilled. It's at full pool and the dam is complete here. I also went to film at some of the dams on the four lakes. So I stopped at Edenville. Work is starting there. I stopped at Secord and Smallwood. I'll be going back out to Sanford really soon as well because there's a ton of progress happening down there. But this video is all about Forest Lake. So you can see here that the dam is completely full. The Forest Lake is completely full, overflowing the spillway here. We'll get up nice and close with the drone. There's a whole bunch of videos inside of here that I kind of compiled to show before and afters. We also have an interview at the end with Veto. So Veto is the president of the Four Lakes Property Owners Association. So he provides some of the insights into what has happened and some of the future work that's going to be going on here at Forest Lake. It's again awesome to see the water flowing back over the dam here. And we'll have some on the ground video as well. I was able to go on the pontoon, get some of those views that show the lake from that perspective. You can see the water flowing over this left spillway though. So I'll talk a little bit more about why the water's flowing through that one a little bit more than the right hand side as well. Stop logs are pretty much just set at a little bit lower elevation. You can see the water flowing this direction, going down the spillway, all those baffle blocks. I really got some awesome video here showing these baffle blocks and all of the grass on each side of the earthen embankment that has been laid down to prevent erosion, and a ton of riprap down this direction as well. So the water system here that we're talking about is Wells Creek. This is what's being dammed up here to form Forest Lake, and that Wells Creek flows down this direction and ends up flowing into and feeding the Rifle River. The Rifle River then flows out to Lake Huron here in Michigan, kind of by the Bay area. So Saginaw Bay, just kind of outside of that Saginaw Bay. You can see that's a generally pretty slow water movement here as it is a creek. It is not a river like down there on the other four lake systems that has the Tittabawassee River flowing through it. But during the May 2020 floods, there was enough water flowing into the system as well that this dam started to fail. A lot of back cutting that was happening underneath the spillway, which we will jump to very shortly and show what that looked like at that time. So again, turning around here, you can see what that looked like May 2020. This is actually the spillway when it was fully operational before the floods. You can see that it just kind of flows down this concrete chute. And then in 2022, when I was out there, this is what things look like from 2020 to 2022. They were actually out here installing the siphon tubes. You can see the excavator up there in the left-hand corner, and that's what I was out here to film at this time. But pretty much nothing had happened in those 2 years up until this point that work started progressing here. You can still see how much back cutting that happened though underneath this concrete chute, and then that concrete just started falling into the hole that was being undermined. So again, a little bit relatively slow water flow, some river rock on each side of the spillway here, not riprap, and I think that was being placed just to try to stop some of that erosion back in 2020 that was happening and going on here. So you can see the big difference between current day that I already showed some of that drone video and what things looked back like on 2022. This was just being left as a run of the river at that time, and it's drawn downstate, water flowing over the dam at the same rate that it was flowing into the water system. I'm not sure if this graffiti is still underneath there from Caitlin. I didn't fly the drone right inside of that area, but again, this is present day here in 2025. You can see all the riprap that's in place, again, stopping that erosion from happening. They took a ton of dirt out of this area. You'll hear Veto talk about that later on in the video, and they did stage this here on site to be able to save them a pretty significant amount of money. There was a lot of dirt that needed to be taken out here and backfilled in here with this riprap. And when I was back there a couple months ago, maybe last year, you could see the large hole that was being dug here, and then this sheet pile that was being hammered in on each side here in this view. So again, nice view of those baffle blocks. This is back in 2020 when the actual flooding was occurring. So this is some video that was shared with me. But again, you can see all the water flowing through and over the top of that concrete chute. Coming down here, it just caused a ton of erosion from that powerful water undercutting the concrete chute here, and then that concrete just kept falling in more and more. It was pretty massive undertaking to stop that from happening just by dumping in a lot of that river rock prevented that from possibly having a major catastrophe here. You can see if it just kept undermining that further and further back to that earthen embankment, the whole earthen embankment maybe would have just failed, just like happened down there on Edenville and Sanford. Again, back in 2022 when I was there filming, you can see all the river rock that was placed in here and dumped in here so it's pretty much a last ditch effort to try to stop that erosion from happening in this concrete that just kind of fell in there. So this was the very end that held up, but it looks like it started maybe failing in the middle, maybe similar to what happened on Oroville in California. I know a lot of people watch my videos that are familiar with Blanca Lirio, Juan Browns, and this could have been a very similar thing that happened here. It could have had a small crack in that concrete, water got in there and started undermining the concrete, and then you just had a failure where this just fell into the open void that was created. So back to present day, again, July 2025. A lot of that riprap's in place here. Pretty cool shot. I do take a lot of pictures and post these to Patreon. So if people want to go ahead and support the channel, there's multiple ways you can do that. Pretty much do this for a hobby. I don't really make any money off of this. Patreon is a great way, kind of a subscription that people get early access to be able to see what I'm working on. I post all these pictures as soon as I'm out there filming at the dam sites. There's also PayPal. You can send donations directly through PayPal and they don't take out any fees. You can use Coffee. Coffee is just kind of a way you can send some money for a drink or contribute to a tank of gas. And all of these links are in the description down below if you want to go ahead and check them out. Again, I said I got some awesome shots here of the baffle blocks. You'll see very shortly that I was able to get the drone right down inside of there and view these. But just look at how these just dissipate the water, the energy that is coming down here. And at the very end, it just ends up being a slow trickle into the creek. Even if there was a ton of water coming into the system, a lot of water going down the spillway, these baffle blocks are kind of just a feat of engineering. A lot of designs went into these to make sure that they reduce the energy going down here and contribute to, just less power that the water is able to generate. It's not just free flowing down into the Wells Creek, lower Wells Creek here. Pay attention up here at the top. You'll see a whole bunch of fish in there. Did get a lot of video of them as well. Maybe some of you can pick out and try to ID some of these fish. I think most of them are probably carp. I see a lot of them rolling on their side. Not sure if that is maybe some sort of mating, a ritual and habit that they're breeding here. There's a lot of carp in this area and they're just here hanging out. Eventually they will make their way down the creek and maybe end up in the Rifle River. But this is just nature running its course. This area is prohibited from people, so don't try walking up the spillway, up the baffle blocks and trying to get in here to these carp. Definitely not allowed to do that. Again, here's the drone right down inside of that spillway. So I was able to fly underneath these steel, I think they're I-beams, H-beams, and the drone is right down in there, only a couple feet above the water. Got some better views of those fish. When I did get the drone in there, my sensors front and back of the drone told me that these beams were probably about 20 feet apart. When I flew through the center, I had 10 feet of clearance on each side of the drone. And looks like there's some new graffiti down there. Oh, I'm not sure if I see the one from Caitlin anymore, but definitely some new names and some writing over on the right hand side. Another common question people ask me is, what equipment do I use to make these videos while I'm filming on the ground or in the air with the drone, or what I am using to edit these videos. Also, check out the description for all that information. There's links to Amazon. If you click any of those links and purchase anything from Amazon within 24 hours, they actually kick a small portion of those proceeds back to the channel. So it's kind of another great way to help the channel out. Great view up here at, I think I was maybe up at 400 feet, maybe not quite all the way at 400 feet in altitude here. You can see how dark the water is in Forest Lake. It's a little bit different than on the four lakes though, Sanford, Secord, Smallwood, and Wixom Lake. This is being fed not from the Tittabawassee River, and usually we see a lot of sediment in the water column, increasing a lot of the turbidity. This is not the case here. This water is crystal clear, and the dark color just comes from tannins. Tannins usually are from leaves, so there's probably some leaves in this lake that are, releasing their dye, their color into the water and making it a little bit darker. But you can definitely tell it's not turbid, it's not chocolate milk color with sediment just being inside the water column and not being able to see inside that water. Water is really crystal clear. Again, nice shot down. And this is back in 2020, again, showing some of the flooding that was happening. You can see how much water is just pouring over the dam, flowing down the spillways in those wings. Pay attention to the wings on each side of the dam. So there's stop logs in the middle. You can see on that photo there was a lot of those stop logs that were pulled out, trying to dissipate that water going down super quickly. And here's the wings on the right hand side of each side of that dam. We'll talk about that a little bit later on very shortly here. Those have actually been cut down to the legal lake level. Pay attention too to the docks on the lower right hand side on each side of these dams, and you can see the siphon tubes that were being placed underneath the roadway back in 2022 when I was out there filming. But those docks, if you actually go back and look at a previous video from 2020, those were completely underneath water, and now you can see they're completely out of the water. And at present day, they are the perfect height. That's actually kind of really nice. During the winter, this dam gets drawn down, and people don't need to pull their docks out or boat lifts because the water is low enough. And then during the summertime, after snow melt, they put the stop logs back in, and the lake is allowed to refill. Drive by and are actually behind the dam. So on each side, these are cut to the legal lake level down now, and then over here in the center where the stop logs are, the new ones, this one on the left hand side, you can see from the drone, had a lot more flow through it. That one's actually 6 inches lower than the one on the right, so that's the primary where most of the water is flowing through.
And then that 6 foot one goes in there. We always want to maintain a steady flow of water for the fish to survive that are trapped there.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be water coming.
Another shot from the drone up at 400 feet in altitude and dropping. Again, see that dark color in the water, and the beach area where the sand is, you can definitely see that water. This lake has been stocked with fish again. So it was stocked earlier this year. So heard some really great fishing out there at Forest Lake. So I definitely encourage people, if you're in the area, or even if you're not in the area, make a trip out there. It's definitely a nice spot even to do a little day trip. They have a really nice public park area where that public beach is that anyone can go to. And then another nice shot up here. You can see the whole water system. And this area is actually where a lot of the dredging will happen coming up in the future. Veto will touch on that a little bit later on in this video. If you made it this far, make sure to go down below, hit that like button. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Definitely helps these videos out a lot. And jumping to this video now, this was again back in 2022. You can see this area, how it was drawn down, and it was just landing. You can see Wells Creek flowing through the middle of it, but it was just a lot of grass starting to grow in this area. And then we'll jump to present day and you'll be able to see how much water is here now. This area is one of the first times that I was out here filming, and this was all dirt out here. So you can see now all the water has came back, probably about 5 to 6 feet deep in here. And in the future, this is an area that it's actually going to get some dredging done on it. So this will be a lot deeper. Dam is up that direction, but you can still see a lot of trees, maybe over there on the far side where that has all regrown. Now that this level has been raised up to its Leak Lake level for the summertime, a lot of those trees will probably die in the next year, and it'll go back to the way that it used to be. Maybe some cattails, some natural vegetation growing in that area where they used to. Some geese over here in the park area. Be a matter of time before hopefully we have Sanford, Secord, Smallwood, and Wixom Lake filled back up in the coming years as well. But really happy to see some water that has been brought back to a lot of the residents in this area. We are back here at Forest Lake again, and I'm here with Veto, the president of the Forest Lake Property Owners Association. And you can see the water is now flowing back through the Forest Lake Dam, through the spillway, through the baffle block. So Veto, what's happened since I was here last? Tell us what's going on.
There's been a tremendous amount of work done. Fisher Construction, GEI Engineering, they really set a goal to get this job done in time. We had a June 1st date completion, and they ended up doing it early, and part of it might be because of the lows down south of us, the 4 lakes down there. But they dedicated a lot of resources. They had a lot of crews out here that worked pretty much straight through the winter. After the deconstruction, they reshaped this hill. They had to cut back the trees here, the rocks that they brought in. They had, they shored up the steel seawall now. It used to be 2 18-inch wings on either side. It's now 10 foot. Probably, the one engineer told me it's a minimum of 10 times the amount of capacity. So right now we got, Forest Lake has the spillway that's a 500-year spillway, a dam that's been thoroughly combed over by Eagle and GEI, and there's repairs that were done to it, preventive maintenance that was done to it. So we're in a really good spot right now with where the quality of what we have here to deliver the water from the lake, which I think you took pictures of, down into the rifle. And part of the design in here is the whole thing is for the delivery, designed to dissipate the energy. And if you look, you got water rushing here, hitting those baffles. When it comes out there, it's a gentle trickle. And so they left. Part of what we did is they pivoted during the project to save us money and try and maximize our spend. One part that we just talked about was the dirt that was here. For them to take that dirt and recycle it and put it back in, they would have had to lay it out somewhere on a field, and then they would have had to compact it, however many times with the steamroller, and then reload it and bring it back here. It was actually cheaper. We had them put it in a ball field that we had as an outer berm, and we're going to utilize that as a barrier between the campground and the ball field, and we're going to move our burn pile there to keep some other residents away from the smoke, and keeps the campground more private. It allows us to maybe have a couple more campsites. We're going to have to pull permits on that, but by doing that, it was approximately about a $200,000 savings. Plus, we didn't have to have all those extra trucks running over the dam and all that. So, we were very willing to save money, and they were very creative in ways that we could. Okay, we just had the 4th, and it was wonderful to see 40 boats out there enjoying the lake, everyone having fun. Made it worthwhile. It was a lot of effort by a large team of people, and we're here, and we have our annual meeting tomorrow. So you're going to see 600 people enjoying this lake. Maybe another 100 on the lake. So it's good things are happening. Okay. You have any other questions, or?
Can you talk about any of the upcoming projects? I know there's some dredging going to be happening up on the lake bed too.
Yes. So we're in a position. We've got money that we used $650,000 that we had set a special assessment up for to do dredging. And the board at that time, which was 3 boards ago, they shifted and used that money to repair the docks, because we were thinking the lake would be back in 1 year like everyone else was, but to repair the docks, use it for the lake, for ecology, for the dredging, and then also use it for the Spillway project. So what we ended up doing was we loaned the money to the county once the lake level board was established, and then by doing that we became grant eligible, because you have to have 25% and you have to have a portion of that in cash, and then you start getting the grants rolling in, and then you can utilize the grants to be the 25% match for other grants. So we had the USDA, we had Eagle, we had some state of Michigan money on top of that. We had the Indian tribe was nice, and they helped us with the stop logs. But you know, we hired a professional accounting team, and they're like the wizard behind the curtain pulling the levers. They're making sure that we're taking money when we need it out of the right bucket, and that we're not going to be declined, and we're maximizing our spend with this grant money. Way over my pay scale, which is volunteer. Way over. So yeah, so we're blessed in that aspect. But you know, as far as the dredging, there's some key points. The storm of 2020, it brought like thousands of tons of silt into the lake, and it you know, we have these catch basins where the silt will run down the creek because it's all naturally fed. The silt will go into the creek, it'll be captured, and then it'll go over a gentle fall over a rock field, and then, you know, with the silt blanket, and then that comes out as clean water, which helps the lake. Well, when that storm hit, it inundated those, it filled them up, and you know, we didn't have islands, but we had a lot of silt that was brought into this lake. So that now more than ever, we need to get that dredging done to maintain the quality of the lake. You know, during the 5-year period that we did not have water, it was actually 4 years, 361 days, because my goal was to get it back before 5 years, which we did. We had a lot of you know, a lot of effort going into making sure that we're aligning ourselves for the dredge when the appropriate time was there. So you know, we proactively cleaned out the silt. We had a couple of them reconstructed because they were just, you know, that much water. We got 7.5 inches of rain in 30 hours. It destroyed 50 of our docks. We're still finding sections of dock. Every time we get a good rain, the water comes up, and then the design of the spillway is so that the water now flows over the wings that they cut, so we don't have to maintain and monkey with the logs, because now they're aluminum, so it's automatically going to drain and not create a situation where we need to pull the logs because we're going to get a big rainstorm. And so now when it happens, it comes up for a day or two and then goes back down, but every time that happens we get more debris that's floating from the shoreline. And the maintenance team has been wonderful going out there and picking up debris, because you know, we're warning people. I would not go full throttle for a couple months on the lake with the speedboat. More of a pontoon lake, but even then you want to be aware of what you're about ready to potentially hit, because there's a lot of logs. You know, we got issues with logs that have been buried for 50 years that for whatever reason they're now starting to float up, and they might have that much exposure, which would really tear the heck out of a hull. So, but yeah, I mean, the maintenance team's been great. You know, this is behind us. Now we got to start with get the lake going with the dredging. We proactively last fall treated the lake for milfoil because we were having an outbreak, which, you know, gets worse every year. So we bit the bullet, used the fund that we had available for the dam maintenance, and shifted it over to lake maintenance, which is still the same thing. And here's the rain.
Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next videos I will be posting, and leave your questions, comments, and suggestions below. As always, I just want to give a massive thanks to the people who support me on Patreon. Never underestimate the value of your contribution to keeping this channel going. Thank you.